So, one of the things you had just mentioned was solutions.
Right.
We're talking about attacking the problem with bringing solutions, not
Right.
just worrying about it and crying about it and picketing down the street. Like, what can we do to bring solutions? And that's one of the things that New Era specializes in. So, what types of solutions have you been able to come up with for these types of situations in these inner cities?
So program is the number one solution.
Hmm.
So the way that we operate, we have 16 different programs,
Yeah.
two or three different national safety initiatives.
Mm.
So the way that we operate is we look at problems and we build programs
Mm.
around each problems,
Mm.
throughout our communities. And we consistently attack the problems with solutions, program based solutions. So
Nice.
kind of go back to once again talking about consistency,
Yeah.
and making sure that we able to continue to program, be able to reprogram on a consistent basis. So
Hmm.
crime and violence, we had different programs, different national safety initiatives.
Mm.
So we have our safe zone to
Mm.
where we partner up with different businesses throughout a particular community, not only here in Detroit but across the country.
Okay.
And with these safe zones, this is something to help combat against human trafficking
Mm.
and child abduction and things of that nature. So
Mm.
each of these businesses that we partner up with, they're safe havens. So we have a map with all the different businesses, so people know, like, if you in certain areas in the community,
Mm.
these people,
Yeah.
sign a pledge to hold themselves accountable
Oh.
for being more than just business owners in the community.
Mm.
Because when you in our communities, and this
Yeah.
goes for people that look like us and don't look like us,
Yeah.
you obligated for that, and accountable for what goes on in the area around your business. See, this is
Wow.
a big thing that a lot of people skip out on. You think you just pop up shop
Yeah.
in a community. It should be for any community. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and it is for any community.
Hmm.
But for us, it's like, okay, well, I'm just gonna come get money, close my doors when it's time to go home, and not worry about
Yeah.
nothing else around. It don't work like that. So
Hmm.
being able to hold businesses accountable and get them a bit more connected to the community with the
Yeah.
safe zone. We in the middle of working on a app
Hmm.
actually that's gonna connect all of that. I don't want to talk too much about it
Okay.
because we working on it.
Gotcha.
But we got a whistle systems
Mm.
too, in which we pass out free whistles to kids.
Mm.
And we've created a system so the kids that walk home to or
Mhm.
from school, be at the bus stops
Yeah.
early and things of that nature, we get them free whistles.
Yeah.
And we do free self defense classes
Wow.
for the kids can know, like, to spot people.
Mhm.
Environmental awareness is big for us, whether it
Mhm.
be women or children. So
Yeah.
making sure that you are aware of your surroundings. So if somebody coming up, they don't look right, you see a van pull up,
Yeah.
your first instinct is to run and blow the whistle,
Mhm.
refusely. So when people in the community, we are putting out and we teach people in the community, if you hear somebody continuously blowing the whistle, to utilize that as a sign of distress.
Right.
Because kids can't carry guns and they shouldn't be having firearms and stuff like that, but they still need to have something
Right.
to protect themselves. We big on community patrols, so
Mhm.
we set up shop. We do this weekly. Some of the areas where people may be having trouble, and
Mm.
it be a lot of stuff. We try to put our presence in these areas so
Gotcha.
that it's just not a heavy presence of police. You know what I mean? We need
Mhm.
to see people that look like us, and once again, engagement is key. So it's not like we
Yeah.
just looking in a standoff. We walking over to you, having a conversation, letting
Mhm.
you know we out here
Yeah.
and this is what we're doing. That's very important. We have mental health programs. We have
Wow.
different mentoring programs. We have
Wow.
financial literacy programs.
Mm.
We have, of course, our food program. We've been able to independently feed here in Detroit
Mhm.
over 200,000 people.
Wow.
And that's, over 200,000 families.
Families. Right. Wow.
And that's without a nonprofit budget and all the rest of that stuff. So
Mm.
we've been feeding people for the longest, in our communities, our hood to hood engagement programs.
Yeah.
We have internship programs for kids. We actually
Mhm.
working on one right now
Mhm.
um, with our partners, Mr. Fix It,
Yeah.
in which we're gonna have kids this summer, um, you know, basically rebuild a house from the ground up. So we
Wow.
got people in all different areas that's gonna show kids,
Man.
how to
Incredible.
put a house together,
Yeah.
plumbing, electric, all that stuff,
Yeah.
carpentry. all of that.
Yeah.
We got a lot of stuff going on. The biggest thing that we're working on right now is conflict resolution. That's
Mm.
our biggest. That's
Okay.
like at the point of
Yeah.
everything that we're doing, because when we talk about all of the stuff that I just named, we talk about crime and violence, and
Yeah.
a lot of people like to say mental health, and it is mental a lot of times, but a lot of the times, more than anything, is because we are unable to resolve conflict.
Mhm.
And that's from infants, that's from young adults and
Yeah.
adults.
Mhm.
So really focusing in on conflict resolution is big for us.
Yeah.
We're actually looking to open in the next couple of years one of the first of its kind conflict resolution centers.
Wow.
Strictly on based on solutions. So
Mhm.
for
Yeah.
us, it's like we look at every aspect of conflict, from
Yeah.
domestic, gang, infants in
Mhm.
schools, you know what I mean? Like workplace, like
Yeah.
every space of conflict,
Mhm.
we are looking to be able to have a solution for all conflicts.
Mm.
And being able to have a center to where
Wow.
people can come in and be able to resolve conflict
Mhm.
in a correct way. So
Yeah.
that's big. We looking to put a lot of money, funding, energy,
Yeah.
and attention behind conflict resolution, not just here in Detroit, but
Mhm.
it's really the pinnacle in every single city, man. When we
Yeah.
talk about especially crime and violence, senseless gun violence, and
Yeah.
just our jails are full of people who just could not,
Yeah.
handle or resolve conflict. Our
Mhm.
jails and cemeteries, you know what
Yeah.
I mean, is full of people that could have went another way, but
Mhm.
we that's not nothing that's taught. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it's something that a lot of people push on the back burner. Like, okay, well, yeah, we
Yeah.
need it, but no, that need to be at the focal
At the
point. So
top.
that's something that we working on. So those are some of the things that we
Yeah.
working on. Here in Detroit and all around the country.
Man, that's huge. That's massive. The conflict resolution being that's the pinnacle of the whole operation
Yeah.
because if you look back into ancient civilizations, I'm an expert on those
Mm-hmm.
topics. You look at the Dogon Tribe.
Yeah.
Now, the Dogon Tribe, they used to actually be the ancient rulers of the land of Kim before it was called Egypt.
Mm.
It was called Egypt much later. But they started off in the land of Kim. They didn't have a military. They didn't have police. They didn't have crime.
Mm.
No jail. No wars. They were at peace with one another. They had conflict resolution.
Mm.
This is like super ancient. So what
Yeah.
you're doing now, you're bringing back what the ancients used to have.
Yeah.
The reason why they didn't continue the rulership over the land of Cam because somebody did come and notice, like, hey, these people ain't got no military.
Right. They're
They
always,
took 'em,
yeah.
and they took them over. But they still existed. They pushed them out towards Mali, Africa, which they still exist today in Mali, Africa. And they're some of the keepers of some of the most ancient information and ancient records ever, handed down in from Africa.
That's right.
Some real ancient, incredible stories, but that's just another podcast.
Yeah, no, that's real.
But what's important is that they still today have no police, no military, no jail, and nobody committing any crimes. It's
Yeah.
zero crime,
Yeah.
proving that it's not the color of the skin that's creating the situation.
Mhm.
It's how you handle situations.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
And
powerful.
and also, the breeding ground for these situations
Mhm.
too. So that's why like a lot of our other programs go hand in hand with it, because
Yeah.
we still got to be able to create an environment that is less stressful,
Mm.
and is a climate that is we're gonna have less conflict.
Yeah.
So because we in a high frequency environment,
Mhm.
in our communities, conflicts are just left and right, left and right. Then
Yeah.
add social media and all the rest of this crap. You know
Right.
what I mean? So, we in the position of where we do have to really focus in on that. But when we do, we kind of
Mhm.
level that off.
Yeah.
Get the other programs together,
Mhm.
make sure that we got the financial literacy, the mental
Yeah.
health,
Mhm.
all the rest of these programs to go
Yeah.
hand in hand with, being able to level that out. We put money in people's pockets.
Mhm.
You change the way that we think and how we move, and kind of marriage that together,
Yeah.
up under resolution. I feel like we'll really see our communities kind of shape in a
Mhm.
way that we know that they
Yeah.
can be.
Right, definitely. That's huge. And if one of the books I wrote is called "Woke Doesn't Mean Broke."
That's right.
It's a bestseller in 5 countries.
Yeah.
If you need any help or for free, I'll come and talk on financial literacy.
That's love. Nah,
Yeah,
I'm gonna hold you to that for
Yeah,
real.
hey, just,
Yeah,
you
that's
listen,
up.
just let me know.
Yeah.
let's schedule it ahead of time so I can make sure it fits in the schedule.
No,
But I
absolutely.
will show up.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
for
that'll
sure.
be huge.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in that.
Yeah, I'm with you, man.
Yeah,
Let's put that. Let's yeah.
yeah, for sure. I grew up in Opelika in Miami,
Yeah.
not too far from Hollandale, which is a nice area. But down in Opelika, it's like
Yeah. Yeah.
hardcore.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's still bad to this very day. I mean, I went down there just about maybe 4 or 5 months ago just to ride through. Every so many months I ride through, just to remind myself
Always.
this is where you came from, man. And try to find ways to continue to give back.
Yeah.
And that area was so bad that the crossing guard used to rob us on the way to school.
I can't.
Okay, the crossing guard would jack you for your lunch money or your lunch, depending on what you had that day. So you try to get slick and try to bring your packed lunch. We're gonna take that too.
That's gangster.
You know what I'm saying? So it was pretty crazy, and I could have definitely used that whistle that y'all give out. But so coming from these areas, grew up in a really impoverished area. And seeing people get shot, murdered, seeing neighbors get stabbed to death out in the street, and watching the parents have to come. This is back in the day when they used to actually put chalk lines in the street.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying, back then.
Yeah,
and watching the parents come out and pour the Coca-Cola on the blood in the street to get it out in the street and all that. That's traumatizing. You know what I'm saying? But in a lot of the situations I realized when I was very young, the majority of these problems was over money. It was over arguments that started over money. Lack of resources, you know what I'm saying? And so I knew early on that in order for me to get out of here, I need money.
Right.
I can't, if I'm gonna stay here, I'm gonna be caught up in the same cycle that's going on right here, you know what I'm saying? So I started focusing on how can I create my own financial literacy.
Yeah.
And I started studying just on my own, trying to figure out ways to learn how to learn about money, how to learn about business and finance, and how to get and start my own business, which eventually I actually did. And that's what enabled me to get out at an early age. But the problem was that the people there, the biggest problem seemed to be finances. That was the big and ignorance of even my parents. My parents had a shoebox, and whatever they owned, like their savings, their nest egg was in that box, and it couldn't have been no more than $800 at the most, and sometimes it used to be less than $20 depending on what happened in that month. You know what I'm saying? So that's one of the biggest problems. We got to bring financial literacy back to the people.
Yeah, financial literacy is key. Like it's right up under there, man. So it's so with our organization we stand on accountability. So like that's the base and the foundation of what we do. So just accountability in every shape or form. But we have 5 levels of accountability, which is the principles that we operate up under. And with our 5 levels of accountability, the first level of accountability is household accountability. Is self accountability. That's the very first level of accountability. We got to be able to hold ourselves accountable. Before we can do anything, we got to look at ourselves in the mirror and say, make sure that we understand that, we can't point the finger at nobody. This is about, the person that I see before we can even act on anything else that we can do. It has to be a level of self accountability. The second level of accountability is household accountability. Or environmental accountability. So, the people that you are around, you know what I mean? We see lots of times, we got special people that's bound for greatness, but, they can't crack the code because of their environment. So, either getting people on board with you or getting people out of your energy. Like that's, you accountable for that too as well. So it ain't no, I was hanging around this person and something bad happened to me. You are in control, of, your environment, and you as an individual have to be able to hold people around you to a certain standard of accountability. That's extremely important. So that's 2. I always tell people the best people in the world is 1 and 2. So they hold themselves accountable and they hold the people around them accountable, their household accountable. And that's where it stops. And that's where I say, like, we got this me and mine's complex. So this is why I say 1 and 2, executed correctly is where people stop, is because, hey, well, I'm straight, my family's straight. You know what I mean? And this is where a lot of, our successful people lie. This is where, a lot of people who have an understanding of what life is and what it takes to make it and all the rest of these things. That's where I feel like, that group of our people lie. And it's just like, okay, I always use the analogy of, you know, you live in a neighborhood
Mhm.
and you know you taking care of your house, your household together. You know you teaching your kids to write,
Mhm.
everything, and y'all riding down the street and you see another little boy who stay on your same block,
Yeah.
but you know he a bit troubled, and you
Mhm.
know what do most parents tell their kids, you know,
Stay away.
stay away from
Stay away.
little Tyrone, he bad, you feel me, like, you know,
Yeah.
don't be out here running with him, he ain't got it together.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, opposed to having an understanding of, you know, what little bro might be going through, and you know
Mhm.
his father may not be in the house, his mom, you know, might be working
Mhm.
double jobs just to, you know, hold them down, so she
Yeah.
might not be around as much, you know
Mhm.
what I mean, like he getting raised by the streets because you got people riding by telling your kids not to mess with them,
Yep.
and you think that your kid living in the exact same environment gonna
Mhm.
grow up to be this great person.
Mhm.
And then this is the best case in the hood is that, you know, a kid grow up and is able to like not be around that, but at the
Yeah.
end of the day, you know, what's the percentage of people just being a product of the environment that
Yeah.
they in? So it's no such, it's the worst thing that our community got going for ourselves
Mhm.
right now is the me and mine's
Yeah.
mentality, because we not helping the situation. This is
Yeah.
like, you see it all the time. Like I have parents, I talk to parents all the time.
Yeah.
I've done everything. You know, I give them everything.
Uh-huh.
I don't understand why they in trouble or why. Well, because you didn't focus in on the environment that y'all living in. You
Yeah.
didn't, you know, three, which
Mhm.
is community
Mhm.
accountability. That's the third level. You didn't
Mhm.
focus in on the community.
Right.
You was too me and mine straight. Oh, I got myself together. I done went and did this. I done got
Mhm.
my bag. We fresh. We good out here.
Yeah.
Oh, my household together. My kids going to good schools. You know,
Mhm.
I'm teaching them the right things. This, that, and the third. But you not understanding, like, we only all are just a product of our environment.
Right.
So we not doing anything to affect the environment.
Mhm.
Essentially, we not doing nothing for the betterment of our the next generation as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So community accountability is our third level.
Mm.
Our fourth level of accountability is economic accountability, right?
Mhm.
Because it got to be on the board, man. We got to be able
Yeah.
to put ourselves in a position of where we are dependent on ourselves when it comes to economics.
Yeah.
You know, building black businesses, supporting black businesses. I always
Mhm.
tell people the number one employer of black people is black people.
Right.
You know, so if we not supporting black businesses and pushing for, you know, the next generation to be
Mhm.
black business owners, and I
Yeah.
understand like everybody not gonna own their own business,
Right.
but we need to be pushing for a majority of kids to have an understanding of, you know, you should own your own business because
Mhm.
this is why.
Yeah.
And if we can get that down, you know, financial literacy need
Mhm.
to be taught in elementary school, you
Yeah.
know, like just certain things that just need to be all through
Yeah.
our schooling and our day-to-day programming. We
Mhm.
get that together, that's gonna be just about, you know, we gonna be where we at. So we got one, self accountability; two, household accountability; three, we got
Mhm.
our community together;
Yeah.
four, our economics together.
Right.
And for the fifth level of accountability for us,
Mhm.
is political accountability.
Mhm.
Because now when we talking about, I don't care where you stay, but we talking about here in America,
Yeah.
you know, politics runs everything. You know what I
Everything.
mean? We got these
Everything.
people sitting up in office dictating every single thing that
Yeah.
has to do with your life.
Yeah.
And a lot of our people, we sit back and say, well, my vote don't count, and I'm not about to get involved with politics, yada
Yeah.
yada. Well, you don't got to get involved with politics. Politics gonna get involved with you, because these people sit around here and they make plays on a day in and day out basis. I sat
Yeah.
up here today. I listened to the city council meeting today. So they
Mhm.
were voting on um whether or not to give Dan Gilbert a $60 million tax cut.
Mm.
And this was like what we're talking about in city council,
Yeah.
$60 million in tax breaks. And we talking about a billionaire. Like
Billionaire.
he
Yeah.
he got it. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, and then to give $60 million to a billionaire, and in that same instance today, on my way here, because I always
Mhm.
take the scenic route. I
Yeah.
ride through my communities
Mhm.
daily because I like
Yeah.
to see, I like to talk to people, hear what's
Mhm.
going on.
Yeah.
I pull up to a senior living facility.
Yeah.
They don't have heat in their facility. They saying it's about to be 100 degrees out here. They
Oh man.
outside. It's already hot outside. They got their signs up talking
Wow.
about, you know, we don't got heat. You know what I mean?
Wow.
They sending the kids home this week from school
Damn.
because of it's gonna be hot outside.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, the school should have AC, right? This should be
Yeah.
a place where they should be able to come get educated and
Yeah.
cool off.
Right.
But that's not the case neither.
Wow.
But we got $60 million to throw to billionaires, but
Yeah.
that's only because and within this meeting,
Mm-hmm.
nobody from nobody in my generation
Yeah.
was tapped in. It was all older folks, and
Right.
you got the politicians. The list came out today of the politicians
Yeah.
that Dan Gilbert actually donated to
Uh-huh.
their campaigns.
Yeah.
And then you can hear these same politicians, lobbying for it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah,
it's just
green light.
like,
Yeah.
we don't get so many of our people were literally murdered
Yeah.
for even thinking about voting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, once you get that understanding of why were they trying to murder people for voting,
Right.
you know what I mean? It's because this is what they set up in this country
Yeah.
to be, to be dominant, but they never expected us to be involved in that voting process.
Yeah.
So if we can't take this and utilize this in a city like Detroit, which is 80% black.
Yeah.
Detroit is 80% black city.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the elections, 80% of the people in the city stay home and don't vote.
Right.
And then we want to talk about the lack of resources that are allocated to our community that never come down.
Right.
What's going on? There we go. The potholes, the schools, and all of the stuff we complain about. But we don't even have an understanding and take people out of it. So that's another one of our program, our voter education program, political education program.
Okay.
So we believe that it don't start at get out and vote. That's another one of our problems. This is why the mud root, kind of concept that we create is very important.
Yeah.
Like that's surface. Get out and vote. Now y'all want to do this the year of election, 6 months before they voting. Get out and vote. Make sure y'all go vote.
Yeah, yeah.
Because our people died for y'all to vote. No. Our people was murdered and enslaved for us to have an understanding of the power that of voting and what it can do for us if we utilize it the correct way.
Okay.
In the blackest city of America, we supposed to dominate every resource that has to do with our people. Should nothing come through, it shouldn't have to go through nobody else's hand.
I was so
you
shocked
know what I mean?
because Detroit has the most black people per capita in the United States.
Yes.
But then I was like, I'm like, well, what's going on? It's not. I don't see the power.
It's embarrassing, bro.
Yeah.
It's an embarrassment. And people we talked about, how I be going in, like I be pissed off about it because it's soft, bro. It's like, how are we sitting and we don't have no power, no control in a city where we dominate the population?
Yeah.
We not gonna go in nobody else's community and dominate, politics. You know what I mean? Dictate the money and the funding. That was almost had $1 billion come to Detroit.
Yeah.
Like $800 million or something like that was allocated to Detroit. How much of that money you think is gonna get trickled down to the real people and the resources that we truly need in the city?
Right.
And it's because people sleep on politics. And it's not so much because people sleep on politics, they're not educated. Our people, we not educated when it comes political education, right along with financial literacy should be taught in schools.
Gotcha.
Political education, not voting for a party, a color, or a person.
Thank you.
But positions.
Right.
What does these positions entail?
Yeah.
And what are the people who we elect to these positions? What are they accountable for?
Right. Right.
And that's how we marriage, and have a better understanding of politics and get what we want out of politics, because politics is power and power is what we want. It's not, we don't say Black power, all power to the people because it's a chant. It should be all power to the people, whatever your people is. I don't want to go to China and say, okay, well, let's talk about black issues.
Right.
I don't, that's not my power base. My power base is where my people are.
Right.
So that's our 5th level of accountability. So we feel like if we focus on all of those 5 levels and we marriage them and we teach them, and we organize around those things and we create programs around those things, man, we gonna really be working on some stuff here.
Nice. That's huge. Yeah. That's phenomenal. One of the things I've been looking into and talking about too in the last couple of years is how do you infiltrate this polytrick? I call that a polytrick system, because it really is polytricks. How do we get inside of there? And we got to infiltrate from the inside.
We do.
It's like, the Trojan horse
Mm-hmm.
type technique from ancient times where they would trick you into opening your gate, or they send you a gift. When they open the gift, there's people inside that thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How do we get inside of there and like infiltrate from the inside? Play the game. You got to play that matrix game. Get in with this, into the system. Get elected. Get into the, and then from there you can start making all these changes. Because now you got power to press buttons. And make connections that can change systems. You know what I'm saying? Because one of the biggest problems we have in America is, if you look around, like, there's not really any black people making any of these laws.
No. Look at Congress.
Yeah.
Look at your Congress.
I mean,
anytime they show something going on in Washington, D.C., look around.
Yeah, look around. You're like, man, so we're not making any laws. We're not writing anything into law. We're not getting, it's just like, it's so unfair. It's unbalanced.
It is.
You know what I'm saying? And then you got people sitting in there for 50 and 60 years. Whereas, a president is in and out in 4.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And once again, it just goes back to power base. So when I talk politics, I always talk from a local perspective.
Yeah.
That's where real power is. National power you can't get if you don't have local power first.
Exactly.
So all of these people talk about the president and Trump. People be surprised how little the president, has to do with day-to-day city operations.
Boom.
Have nothing to do with what's going on in your hood. The president ain't gonna do nothing for what's going on in your hood. The most important person in this state is the governor.
The governor.
You know
That's
what I mean?
That's where it starts.
She has more power than the president in regards to things that go on in our community.
Yeah.
And then you got the mayors and all these people. That's where the power is.
Yeah.
And once again, you say. So you utilize the Trojan horse analogy, and we don't even have to do that shit here in Detroit, bro. We can just, Biggie said, we kick in the door, waving the fofo. Like, that's all we got to do is 80% of the city. Okay, so let me put this into perspective as well. So we live in a city. It's roughly about, let's say, 650,000 people in Detroit, give or take.
Yeah.
The last mayoral election, which was last year. Mayor Mike Dogon.
Yeah.
650,000 people here in the city, right? He won the mayor's seat with 69,000 votes.
Wow.
69,000 votes out of 650,000 people. That's just mind-blowing to me,
insane.
man. In the blackest city in America.
Yeah.
So that's less than 20% of the blackest city come out to vote.
Right.
So you already know who are coming out. The business people who getting paid off.
Yeah.
The seniors, they gonna always get out and vote. And the bourgeoisies, they gonna get out and vote. So 60%. I mean, to have a city that's 80% black, and we don't have 80% of the population to come out and vote.
Yeah.
That's a problem, man. And we can't talk elevation of our culture and elevation of our people if we not taking care of the bare minimum necessities. Should nothing come through this city without coming through us. You feel me? And then we gave away everything. We gave away the water. Like, come on, man. We in a position to have power over the freshest water source in the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And we give that away. We done gave the city of Detroit don't own nothing at this point outright, but maybe the fire department, police department. I think that's it.
Wow.
We don't own water. We don't own none of our resources. None of that. So all of those things were bargained behind the scenes. You know what I mean? And then some by people that look like us. So I always tell people in a city like Detroit, we got people call Detroit the hater capital. Some people.
Oh yeah.
And is the bourgeois capital, I would say too, as well. So classism is big in this city. So you got, the house Negroes and field Negroes.
Right.
It's the same type of analogy. And, we've been having house Negroes sell us out left and right for money, for politics, all of this stuff, because once again, nobody's coming out to vote, nor are they holding people accountable. If you don't have an understanding of the process, how can you possibly hold someone accountable?
Yeah.
So politicians in this city has been going without accountability forever. You know what I mean? Since Coleman Young came in and gave us the alley-oop to have the greatest black city in America.
Yeah.
All we had to do was take it and run with it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, he made sure that we was all cleared out. White folks done ran out of city Detroit, white flight. You know, it was just all ours, man. It was for the taking.
Yeah.
But, you know, we did nothing with that, man. And then we completely dropped the ball and completely gave our city right back to where I got to hear today and through a city council meeting about a $60 million tax abatement from a billionaire. So that's where we at today because we don't have an understanding of politics.
Yeah, it's all come down to education.
Yes.
Yeah. And like you said, it's the grassroots. You got to start at the bottom. You got to start with the sheriff. Who was electing the sheriff? Who's electing the mayor? You got to get it. That's where you start building your team.
Yeah.
To work your way to the top.
Exactly.
You know, because you got to infiltrate. That's the only way.
Yeah.
That's the only way. Yeah. Wow. Powerful stuff. But I'm glad you guys have that system in place that you're working with and you're teaching because it's much, much needed. You know, do you think that some of these situations that are happening in these inner cities with the guns, because the guns seem like they're just coming out of thin air. I'm not trying to be conspiracy on this, but do you think that some of these guns are planted in these communities?
Oh, bro, that's facts. Those are documented facts, man. Especially they started doing this after they killed off Martin Luther King, killed off Malcolm X. But the dumping of firearms in our communities mixed along with you know, crack and cocaine, all the rest of that stuff.
Yeah.
That happened immediately after the attack on the Black Power movement.
Yeah.
So after they, you know, started having a way with the Panthers, you know, after the uprising, because we was up. Like when they came out, people started to understand power and the power in themselves and the power of our people, start to feel good about it, you know, ourselves, start to, you know, fight back finally in this country, not just lay and just take everything. It was up. This country had, you know, I mean, especially from their lens, they had a big problem. You know what I mean? So how do we kill off this problem? Well, it was easy for them. You know, they take Chairman Fred Hampton and they shoot rounds into his house. You know, murdering him. You know, for the whole world to see. You know, scaring off so many people. They threw indictments on a lot of the Panther Party. You know, killed the morale in our communities. And with that morale killing, here's gun and here's crack as well. You know, now y'all got guns and y'all got dope that y'all can fight over amongst yourselves. Well, we know what's gonna happen when we do this type of stuff and put another way of illegal money, which is everything. The biggest dope dealers in the world is the government. You know what I mean? Because don't nothing come through without their permission. Come on, man. Ain't nobody doing all of this stuff.
The biggest traffickers.
Come on, man. They the biggest traffickers. So snowfall is a real thing. Like if anybody watch that, that's real life. Like
documentary.
That's real life. So you know, when we talking about this type of stuff, that they started doing that back then. So now, you know, you had even with the music and the frequencies, you know, you had Public Enemy and all of that stuff was going on. They had to completely chop that away. We was getting too prideful. We was getting too ahead of ourselves as they would look at the way we would move. So they knew the biggest way to diffuse that was to have us fight amongst ourselves. You know, even with Crips and Bloods, that started as righteous. That started as something righteous. You know what I mean? You know, a lot of them, that started from the Panther movement and a lot of that energy, you know? So, you know, all of those things was righteous. But now, you know, you got people feuding about money and drugs, you know, in their own communities. So people... what we doing? We murdering ourselves off. Check for them. You feel me? Great job. We now we getting locked up as well. Check for them. Great job. Now they're able to take the father out of the household. Check for them. Great job. You know, so you know now they're able to taking the father out, control the resources that the mother get. So now you dependent on the state. You dependent on the government. Check for them because we don't want you to be independent people. So here's another check. And they really, man, did a whole experiment on our people, you know, in the 80s that lingered into the 90s and lingered into the 2000s to where we are now. We literally, you know, are in a 30-year warp of their experiment from drugs and
Yeah.
and guns being dropped in our community. It's
Mhm.
been documented stories about trains that's just been there with crates of guns.
Yeah.
You know, that's not no myth. Like
Right.
people can look that up in Chicago, and you know
Yeah.
they don't make Uzi factories in Chicago.
I
They
know.
not.
That's what I'm
You
trying to
know,
say.
you can't get
Yeah.
these drugs and all of the rest of the stuff. You
Mhm.
can't. The poppy leaves ain't in Chicago and
Right.
Detroit and none of these cities.
Yeah.
So you know, it's all of this has been done intentionally
Mhm.
and purposefully.
Yeah.
But for us to have an understanding that wow, they went through these great measures to
Mhm.
stop this greatness, this quote unquote 14% of the
Yeah.
country, which is also a lie.
That's a
Like,
lie. That's a lie.
you know,
That's a lie.
so
Yeah.
you know, a lot of this stuff is just systematic, man.
Mhm.
It's programming once again. So
programming,
you
yeah.
got to fight programming with programming.
Mhm.
So in order for us to get back to where we are, what we do have to take a little bit of that spill and that energy,
Yeah.
you know, that they had in the 60s and the 70s because they were on the right track. You know,
Yeah.
they stood up for themselves. They,
Yeah.
you know, a lot. The dumbest thing I've ever seen was "We not our ancestors," or
Oh man.
I seen some. You know, it'd be stuff like, "Oh, we
Yeah.
not. I'm not my." Yeah, you not. You know what I mean? Because
the
they
evidence is around.
Hey,
Yeah.
because they wasn't
Yeah.
sitting back docile when it come to all. They really cared,
Mhm.
you know, about the evolution of our people, and
Yeah.
you know they cared about the babies, and they, you know,
Yeah.
they cared about, you know, having power and dignity and
Mhm.
respect. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Those were things that was embedded
Mhm.
into the movement
Yeah.
of us as people. So
Right.
you know, all of this is by design, man. You
Yeah.
know, we just got to take, you know, if we know better, we got to do better. But it's all about programming,
Right.
making sure that we organize, and make sure that we consistent in that organization.
Exactly. You know, that's a lot of powerful stuff. And the thing about black people is, from an outsider looking in, based on what they see from TV, the news, the media, which always highlighting the gun violence and all the crime that's going on in these inner city areas, not taking into consideration how the guns got there, how the dope got there, how the money got there, you know, how the economic oppression put people in that mind state. And so they're looking from the outside in. But if you look at black people as a whole, primarily, we're very docile people.
Yeah.
It's one of our weaknesses, actually.
Loving people.
We're loving people.
Forgiving people.
To forgive.
All of that.
And so the evidence of this forgiveness that we have in our hearts, and the evidence of how nice and how docile we truly, really are, is the fact that we haven't tried to take over this country.
That's right.
I mean,
after
let's be honest.
everything that
After
they done,
everything.
you feel me? If anybody could look and be like, okay, well, yeah, they had reason.
Yeah.
You know, it would be black people.
Right.
You know, in this country.
Right.
You know what I mean? So yeah, it's always been, you know, like that with us, and that's just the energy of our people. That's
Right.
who we are.
That's
you
who
know,
we are,
talk
man.
about the original people. When you
Yeah.
talk about tapping into our God energy, you
Yeah.
know, that's just who we are. We
Yeah.
we don't have no ill will or intent, man. That was breeded, you know, by animal people.
Right.
You feel me? Like
Right.
people, savagery. You know,
Yeah.
people who don't got a conscience. You know, they like to put that on us, like
Yeah.
black. Like that's not us.
That's
you
not
know,
us.
You talk
It's
about
not.
crime and violence. How dare this country talk about crime and violence, and they invented this shit. You feel me?
Invented it,
Like
literally.
this country is built on crime and violence and savagery and taking,
Yeah.
and control, and you know, and war and guns. Like
That's
that's this country. Like
Oh, yeah.
you know, people came over here while we was here chilling.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm bent on we was here.
We was
You know,
already
this
here.
ain't no
Yeah.
we brought y'all over here. No, we were here.
Yeah.
Y'all brought yourself over here, and completely, you know, just was a complete savage to everything. You know, it ain't been the same since.
Yeah.
You know, you talk about everything, all the communities that they burned down and destroyed when we minding our own business.
I know.
You know, Black Wall Street, Black Bottom here in
Man.
Detroit. You know, the Move movement in Philly.
Yeah.
Like they dropped a bomb on them.
They dropped
You know,
a bomb.
a whole bomb.
A whole bomb
You know,
on them,
on
yeah.
a community. So
Yeah.
you know,
Central Park was the whole black
Central Park.
community.
You feel me?
They
So
blew up Central Park.
they
Just
done,
burned
come
it down.
on, man. So how dare these people get up here talking about
Yeah.
crime and violence, and this isn't us. You know what I mean? This is exactly who this country is, and people in this country is getting exposed for who they are, and that's just the thing, and that don't have nothing to do with us. They need to look themselves in the mirror and understand, you know, what their ancestors, you know, embedded, because just like the trauma that we talked about that we carry from our ancestors. They carry the same trauma, bro.
Oh, yeah.
You feel me?
Oh, yeah.
And that's why you do see more white people and people of different nationalities want to, you know, you look at a Black Lives Matter march, who you gonna see? Majority
white people.
Come on, man. Yeah. That's that inside of them, like my ancestors did this, you know, it's a certain level of guilt.
There's some guilt.
Let's be honest.
They want to atone for that. They want to atone for it.
Yeah, so
I understand.
So it's the same thing, man. So, you know, for us, it's just, you know, having that understanding, man. So, you know, that we put ourselves in a position to understand, you know, organize, elevate, you know, so that we can be where we need to be.
Yeah, phenomenal, man. This has been a great talk, man. A great talk. I'm really glad that I know you, that I had a chance to meet you.
That's love, vice versa, bro. Real talk.
Man. I definitely want to get more involved with your movement, like I said, man. And I want to bring more awareness to this as well, because when I meet somebody that has an organized structure in place, that gets me excited. Because too many people do this, blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? They're just talking. And they talking out the side of their head, and nothing's happening. Where's the solutions, man? Where's the system? You know what I'm saying? That's what I look for, you know? Because when I work on things, I create systems and solutions. I pride myself on, if you hear my podcast or some of the talks I do, I always say, I'm a solutions provider.
That's right.
That's it. I don't like what's on the radio. I made my own music. I don't like what was on TV. I made my own TV network. I don't like what's on, you know, in different areas of the community. I start creating solutions for that. I don't like social media. I made my own social media app. Whatever I don't like, I don't sit there and whine and cry.
Solution.
I start, how can I be a part of the solution or create the solution?
That's right, brother.
You know what I'm saying? And that's what we all got to be. And if we all did that, if we link up together to be a part of a solution or find a way to create the solution and bring other people in on it, then we're going to be doing all right.
Yeah, man.
You know?
And we don't need everybody. We just need the right people. Like,
that's it.
And we need people that's gonna be able to, you know, tap in from every field. You know what I mean? I'm big on even when it comes to funding. When you talk about some of our biggest resources, even when you talk from an entertainment or from an athletic perspective. So you got a young king, he from the hood. Let's say a basketball player. You know, he from the hood. He come from all of this trauma and all of this. You know, he really from that energy. And then, you know, he make it to the league. He get this like the contracts that they get now is just unbelievable.
Very crazy.
So, you know, you getting $100 million contracts. You know what I mean? And just look what happens. And so when they get that contract, the organization, they have people around that's gonna take, the first thing they're gonna do is take you out your hood. So let me show you what the suburbs looking like. Now let me show you what schools the suburbs got to offer. Now let me show you what women the suburbs got to offer. Now let me show you what organizations you should donate to. And I had a long conversation with one of my good brothers. He played for the Lions. He don't play for the Lions no more, but Jalen Mavis Reed, shout out to my brother, man. He put me on a lot of games, and man, on how like these organizations really run, man. Like you know, they take the money and cipher it. So I'm gonna tell you to donate to this organization, and oh yeah, this is the organization. They give them a list, you know, of places to put their money in. It's just like, you know, we gotta be able to, you know, all my people out there that's listening, we gotta be able to put an importance behind funding, you know, the ground level movement, the stuff, the tangibles, you know, that's not gonna show up in a financial report, or it's not gonna show up, you know, on any different stats. Like, we gotta be able to support street movements a bit better and people that's connected to the people that's doing stuff, because I mean, if we had a portion of the money that some of these, I know we can change. I know we can change the world.
Oh yeah.
You know, with the right type of funding that a lot of these other organizations get. So for us, you know, we always want to put it out there, like just for people to understand the value
Right.
of what Mud Roots is really being able to do in our community,
Yeah.
and to be able to support that
Mm-hmm.
in a way to where we don't have to figure out, okay, well, where we gonna get our next piece of money to go through. We got to stay consistent. We got a
Mm-hmm.
job and a commitment to our people to stay consistent, and make sure that we keeping the ball going. But we need our people to understand, people who, do are in another tax bracket, and
Yeah.
that can do stuff, man,
Mhm.
to make sure that you look outside of what the city is pushing, what your people that's around you is pushing, man. And
Yeah.
let's really start to put money behind people that's on the ground,
Mhm.
that's doing the work, because we definitely need that support. We got what we need. I always say, like, we built the black print. That's
Yeah.
what we've been able to do. We got the
Yeah.
black print
Nice.
for community organizing. I always
Yeah.
tell people, like, there's hundreds of thousands of black organizations,
Mhm.
but until we came along, nobody truly understood how to define what organization is in our community.
Nice.
And we've been able to do that. So,
Mhm.
we just ask for people to, do your research when it come to us.
Yeah.
Check us out.
Mhm.
And look at all of our programs and see what we're doing
Yeah.
on a global level,
Mhm.
because we definitely believe that we have the answers and the
Yeah.
solutions
Nice.
when it comes to change in black communities, and specifically the hoods and the ghettos of America.
Hey, man, that's fantastic. How can everyone find you?
So we're New Era Detroit
Mhm.
on everything.
Okay.
You can find us at New Era Detroit. If anybody wants to volunteer, they can email us at volunteer@neweradetroit.world. If people have information, you want to figure out how you can be a donor,
Mhm.
or how you can play whatever role that people are already playing, and figure
Yeah.
that out, is info@neweraworld.work. And just make sure to tap in with us.
Okay.
We're not a hard organization to find. We always out in the community. We always
Yeah.
moving. We always working, because for us it truly don't stop.
Beautiful. Well, make sure to put all those links and email addresses in the caption of this video and this podcast when it shows up. And thanks again, man, for coming on the podcast.
Appreciate you for having me,
All right.
brother.
Peace.
Peace.
That's a wrap.